Thank you for listening in to Conversations with Alison J, The Journey to Here. Please remember to subscribe, hit the like button and share.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Conversations with Alison J, The Journey to Here. I'm your host, Alison J. Today we'll be speaking with Mariam Ibraheem. Mariam is the author of the book Shackled. Mariam's journey is one of a woman born in a refugee camp. Her father, a Muslim, died when she was just 6 years old, and she was subsequently raised by her Ethiopian Orthodox Christian mother. Mariam, her mother and siblings suffered terrible abuse at the hands of her father as the demons of his past came back to haunt him. He had killed his 12-year-old sister and a young man she was talking to in an honor killing. At the age of 7, Mariam will be subjected to female genital mutilation, also known as female circumcision. She would be branded with burning hot iron rods several times as a medical remedy for ailments under Sunnah teachings. Her father was a Muslim. The assumption was that Mariam and her family would also be Muslims. So she spent most of her younger years living as a Muslim, efforts so that Mariam would renounce her Christian faith, something Mariam could not and would not do. Mariam dropped out of high school at 14 years old as she would not say the Shahada. She became an apprentice to her mother, who by now was a successful businesswoman. Saying the Shahada would have allowed her the opportunity to graduate high school. The Shahada is the confession that there is no God but Allah and Muhammad is his prophet. Mariam would later be accepted into and graduate from Khomeini Catholic School and then Khartoum University, get married to a South Sudanese Christian man and have a baby. Mariam being married to a Christian would land her in prison in 2013 with her 9-month-old son, where she would be flogged and whipped weekly while on death row facing death by hanging. It was while still in prison in 2014 that Mariam would give birth to her second child, while shackled in chains and then circumcised for a second time immediately after the birth of her daughter. This was all because she married a Christian man and still would not renounce her Christian faith. Mariam is now free after an international public outcry. She lives in the US with her children and works for Tahrir al-Nisa as the Director of Global Mobilization. Tahrir al-Nisa means setting women free. They are a team of women who know what it's like to be abused or to help those who have been abused by someone they love. Helping women escape and recover from domestic abuse, a rare living martyr, Mariam received continued international publicity and has spoken before the European Union and Pope Francis. She continues to speak publicly about religious freedom issues and on behalf of those who are oppressed globally. Mariam publicly advocates for those who are persecuted for their faith and those who are trying to escape the private prison of domestic abuse. Mariam, thank you so much for joining us here on Conversations with Alison J, The Journey to Here. Mariam, welcome. Okay. How are you?
I am doing great. Thank you.
Wonderful, wonderful. I am so happy to see you.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me.
You are more than welcome. Mariam, again, thank you so much for joining us here on Conversations with Alison J, The Journey to Here. And I must say, you know, nothing happens by chance and nothing happens by accident.
That's true.
And sometimes it can be very annoying when you're shopping and all these other things pop up, and because it's temptation. But I was looking for a particular book on Amazon and yours came up.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow.
that's completely how it happened. And I read the synopsis of it that they put on there, and I immediately, Mariam, bought your book.
Oh, you did? Oh my goodness.
I immediately bought it, and from the moment I picked it up, I didn't put it down until I finished it.
Wow. A lot of people say that. I'm like, oh my goodness. Wow, it's so encouraging to know that, really.
Yeah, it was one of those things where so many times we look at people that have gone through things like you have, and we think it happened like in 1800 and something, when we can't fathom that this is what people are still going through today. Because when we look at it, your journey isn't something that happened years and years ago. We're talking about less than 10 years ago, Mariam. So I don't want to give too much of the book away, but in your own words, can you tell us about your journey? Again, without giving too much of the book away, because we do want people to go and buy it. We want this book to be a #1 bestseller.
Okay, so well, you're right. So we look into things. I was just talking with, I have another interview, and we're talking about my background with the refugee camp. And I see this still the flooding, huge amount of flooding of refugees are everywhere. So it's, yeah. Well, as I said, my story started with being born in a refugee camp in Sudan, beautiful country in Africa. We're very grateful for a lot of God's blessing on us, but we have very corrupt government, and we live under Islamic Sharia law. So yeah, I was born from Muslim and Christian, from Muslim father and Christian mother. That's how the trouble get my way when I grew up and married to a Christian man. So it's the law that is supposed to protect people. Actually, it's punished me from a lot of this personal choices I made and my mom made to the way she raised me and my siblings. So, but because I'm a girl, so that's mostly, girls and women are affected by this law in our countries.
And you say that you were not protected by the law, and reading your book, it showed that some of the things that you went through, and there's even a section in it before you even get to chapter 1, and I'm going to when I read that part, I thought, oh Lord, the note to the reader.
Yeah.
And then there were 2 particular chapters that it mentions that if you have to prepare yourself, because they're quite disturbing. And I like to believe that I have a cast iron constitution and I can take pretty much anything. And I must admit that what you went through at the age of 7, female genital mutilation, I must admit I was struggling to read through that, because I thinking to myself, my gosh, that is the most barbaric thing that they could do. How did that affect you? And I know this must sound like such a ridiculous question, but in reading the book and how that was done to you, how did that affect you?
Well, it does affect me in many ways, and it's just not me. I can tell this is something really happening now. And a part of the law also, we struggle with traditional custom. That's why they forced my mom to do that. She have to agree, because traditional custom, that means you have to follow certain rules in the community. And for girls, it's really hard, because if you didn't do this practice, you'd be considered unclean. Besides, you are Christian, this is unclean. Your daughter can get returned if she get married and they find out she's not been done the female genital mutilation. They can return her, look upon her as a shame to the family, and it's a lot of death happen during that, just for girls to died during this practice, the procedure. And again, and in the future, giving birth to children is really very hard, and then they actually keep doing it repeatedly, especially after birth for a child. It's very harmful. I can say it's really very harmful to physically and mentally for the girls. And it does have a huge impact all along, the way all your life. You always live with that pain, and yeah. So it's act of injustice, really. And it's so hard to be done, like by the family agreeing that they know this is painful, and this is harmful, but it has to be done because to please the communities and to make sure the girl is completed. Because if it's not done, it's looked upon as it's like she's missing something wrong with her. They're taking a part of her body, which is God made us complete, God made us in a perfect image, but yeah.
Hear that you said that they do it repeatedly. So every time after you have a child, they would go through that female circumcision every time after having a child?
Yeah.
My goodness. I can't even begin to imagine. Yeah. And you saying that if you don't do it, you're seen as unclean. So it's something that is not done privately, it's done publicly, is that right?
Oh no, yes, have to be done publicly. And if you read in the book, I mentioned that's how, it's like big event, like gathering people, and they know who's exactly, have done that or not, which family done for their daughters or not. And that's why now there's some law criminalizing this practice and the procedure, but yet people don't really have enough like knowledge or not being for educated about the how bad this procedure can be for girls. That's why they don't report things like that. Just like honor killing, when happen, the girl faces certain issues, and then the family get angry and she get killed. Nobody will report exactly. They will lie and say anything happened, but they know exactly who killed the girl and why. But they won't report it, to the police or the authority, even the government. There's not even, I would say that one of the things that we really, in my country in Sudan, when they start like establishing laws to criminalize this practice, we provide lots of recommendation. Like first thing, we need to educate girls, and even at the school, like some of those teachers, they have done for themselves. They should have known exactly how bad it is, And the mothers, I just can't imagine, like you're a mother, you know how bad it is, yet to do it for your daughter. So we recommended that we provide like educational programs for girls at the school, provide resources. Like if this something happened to you, and it's you should know how to ask for help and how to report that. Because when they did, they law that you can face jail. If you are a nurse, you can lose your license. Midwife, you can lose your license if you don't that, because it's done by a midwife. So yeah, I actually don't have much conversation about this. I mostly like do speak about religious persecution, wide range of what people now facing really serious issues with religious persecution. So I appreciate you bringing this up. Really.
No, that's quite all right, because personally, I think this is something that, as I mentioned earlier, because we think that, this is an old, outdated practice, they don't do it anymore. Or for many of us, we think, well, it doesn't happen in the country I live in, so I don't need to know about it. But the reality is, I think this is something we do need to discuss. I think it's something that we do need to raise more awareness about, because the more we know about it, the more we can help those that are going through it, don't you think?
I do agree with you. Even persecution, even Islamic Sharia law, it is this is part, like sometimes it says a certain law that underneath of this Islamic law says it's a traditional custom is more dangerous than the law, and it's all then like we shouldn't say no one above the law. I think I'm okay from here. Yeah, so we do have this really some discussion about changing laws, but yet people really fail to follow along and to comply with This, and at the end, it is really a matter of how really we understand the impact these practices have on girls or in their families and things like that.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you mentioned that people don't talk about it very much. And I'm more than happy to have those kinds of hard conversations that people tend to run away from because they don't want to talk about it. Because if they feel like if we don't talk about certain things, we can, like, we're burying our head in the sand and it doesn't exist. But I'm all for having conversations like this so that we can help, because if we can't help what we don't know. And I'm so sorry that you had to go through it. And then you mentioned also about honor killings, and we read in the book that your father was also someone that took part in an honor killing with his sister. And it's amazing that you say it doesn't go reported, because your father, from what we can read, didn't even spend one day in jail.
No, they don't, because they come to, they take the law in their own hand. Like, it's either, if it's happened in my father's case, it can break up war between two tribes. So, but he flew the area, and yet it's really becoming issues because they totally forget about everything happened, and they focus mostly about him and they seeking revenge and things like that. So, and in many cases, like now I really challenge with these situations because I'm very communicative with women, all walk of life and faith. And I hear different stories, like, how could it just be normal for someone to run away and to live hiding all their life?
Yeah.
Just because they made choices. Honor killing is a really serious problem, and I will call it like just like death penalty. That's been now some of us are fighting to end polishing laws and about apostasy law and anti-conversion laws. But this is a part of it, because and honor killing happen like case of women, Muslim girls, especially Muslim community. When Muslim girls married to non-Muslims, or a girl have a relationship with a man, and then the family find out, it's also traditional custom, culture. And then when a girl have a child outside marriage, or happen to have a relationship with a man outside marriage, this is involved honor killing, because and they done it like with proudly talking about when you killed your daughter or sister or one of the girls in the family being dead, because they think that what she done is bring shame to the family, and they need to wash away that by her blood. So it's really evil action and evil behavior. So, and it's happening. I can tell you, it's really happening. Yeah.
And it, like you said, it's happening, and it's still happening today.
Mm-hmm.
We're in 2022, and this is honor killings are still going on. Female circumcision, or otherwise known as female genital mutilation, still going on. Honor killings still going on. People being persecuted for their faith still going on. And it's about time that we really just blow the lid off these things, and we work to get the laws changed so that girls don't go through what you had to go through. And like you said, you have mothers that have been through these processes, these treatments, this abuse, let's call it what it is, it's abuse, but yet they still subject their daughters to it to this very day. Is that right?
I know my mother never do that, but she faced so much pressure from the community, like to wear dress, long dress and cover her hair. We have to do that. You have to do this. And then, one of the things that it also, and because for us as a Christian, sometimes is moral obligation to do that, because we must do as Jesus. and be their voice and be an advocate and comfort them. So a lot of time we face some challenges, when you speak about, oh, you Christian, your place at the church, you go and pray. You don't talk about laws and things like that. And when I say about laws, also this is like when we do things like that, we do God's work, because God uses people to do His work. So yeah.
Wow. It is truly, truly horrifying, and I can't imagine a mother putting her child through that. But obviously, like you said, the pressure is so great. Mm-hmm. And again, lack of education, isn't it?
Lack of education. And even so with education, also there's the mentality of like, oh, this is our culture, this is, our traditional, we must do it. So and this is really concerning to me as well. Some of the families that come from those countries, even in Western countries, sometimes they take their daughters back, like holidays or a summer break, and they do that practice. So yeah.
My gosh, yeah, obviously, because they know that they couldn't.
And they use it actually as part of like religious freedom. It isn't religious freedom. This is human rights abuse, Yeah.
You mentioned they take the daughters back to their home countries to get it done, because they know it's completely against the law in Western countries, isn't it?
It is. It's not. Yeah, again, it's the law. And sometimes also we have few cases in case of divorce, happen. Divorce is bad, and I'm going through the same. But what happened is, you hear me well now?
I can hear you better
now. Yeah, they use the term of religious freedom to all the things that's really, we think that's according to our, religion or traditional culture or things like that. So that's, actually something we really need also to bring up, like, there's a limit for that. You practice your religious freedom for your own, but when it's come to harm somebody or endanger somebody's life, this has become, serious issues. Yeah.
My gosh. And you touched on, you spoke about religious freedoms as well. So you were raised by your mother, who is an Ethiopian Orthodox Christian, but you went through all of this because your father is a Muslim. Mm-hmm. And you would later get to find out that your father had another family somewhere.
Yes, it's common that you can marry more than a wife, in Islamic culture. So, he abandoned that family. My father happened when he get into that issue with honor killing, he abandoned his family and left. So I was raised by my mom, and one of the things that at the beginning she does when we moved from the refugees camp to the city, she changed our last name, just form of protection, because she knows the trouble and evil that will come on our way from my father's side. So when where the problem will start with education, like us as a Christian or religious minority, we don't have access to at the school for Christian education and things like that. We are more exposed to Islam than to our faith. So this is a nature, law of nature. Like, if you are now Muslim, you must pass the Islamic test, because we have 4 subjects: math, English, and Arabic, and Islamic teaching. This is include memorizing scripture from Qur'an, the Hadith, Sunnah, Al-Aqidah, which is called like instruction for Muslim how to live their life, like even like using bathroom, we study all this, we take the test. If you did not pass the test, you won't be able to move to Abu Ghraib.
Okay.
So,
and can you please repeat that part about it teaches you even how to use the bathroom, because the line was breaking up really badly.
This is at the school. Start from the school.
They teach you how to use the bathroom. As a girl, they teach you how the proper way to use the bathroom.
I said al-aqidah in Islamic teaching, which is like the way you follow Islamic teaching. Yeah, how even to use a bathroom, eat, manage your money, and how to treat the unbeliever in war. Like, is really so. And I remember, like, trouble started to me with the school, generous and forgiving and person she is, but yet she's called unbeliever. She looked as unclean on Islam. So this is one of the challenges that, like, you know, most of Christian face. Like, you be sitting next to a Muslim student as a Christian child or a student, and then you have to repeat the same verses from Qur'an saying to kill unbeliever and don't eat their food, you know, and they go to hell if, you know, if they did not repent and accept Allah. So yeah, it is really, I can say from what they say now, it's violation for religious freedom, or not just, you know, it's harmful, really. Sometimes I do remember, like, how I get to conversation with the teacher and then end up by travel, call to the office. That's how I ended up dropping out of high school, because it was really become very challenging time for me, and my mom really get very concerning. But you're gonna face lots of issues if you continue doing that, and you can get killed, you know, the extremists out there. So yeah.
And you mentioned about schools, and reading in your book, because you wouldn't say the Shahada, you couldn't graduate.
Shahada, which million confessing that on acceptance of Islam.
And so fortunately, you were able to go to a Catholic school and you went on to university. And it was during your time at university that you would meet the man that you would marry.
Yeah, after my graduation, yes.
And as a result of that, you ended up in prison with your child.
Yeah. For my marriage, the court considered my marriage invalid because I break 2 laws in Sudan. When I, as a Christian, as a Muslim child, I was considered Muslim, because children who were born for non-Muslim mother and Muslim father must follow their father's religion. Like, you don't have the option. This is in many other Islamic countries. So, so I grew up as a Christian, breaking the law. I shouldn't done that. My mom shouldn't raise me as a Christian, because she's supposed to teach me about it. She does actually try her best with that. She allowed me to go to school, you know, and study Islamic teaching, but she did not provide Islamic teaching at home to me. So that's a really big mistake for she does, which they will think. And then marrying as a Muslim girl, I'm not supposed to marry Christian man. But Muslim man can marry any woman from all the faiths, can marry Jewish, Christian, Buddhist, any religion. This is a man. But for a girl, is not allowed to marry any, you know, outside Islam. And the reason they think that they play because women are weak. So if you are a woman, if you are a Muslim girl and you go and marry a non-Muslim man, your husband might convince you to marry non-Muslim. I mean, to become a non-Muslim. And then if that's when they wanted to have more people coming to Islam. So you Muslim man, go marry non-Muslim girl, and then you convince your wife. They can't force her, they agree on that, but they think that's just a mentality of, like, you know, women are weak, you know, they can, yeah, so you can convince your wife to convert to Islam. The other thing also, like, they give themselves authority with how people, like, that's what it says in structure, how you live your life. So no, you can't marry because, you know, interfaith marriage is something really beautiful and special, but for Islam, it looks upon as, no, it's not, you know, allowed. You can, for women, you know, are a Muslim girl. And then marrying Christian man that's why I was charged with adultery, because I married as a child, but my marriage considered invalid by the court, according to, you know, personal family law and personal status law in Sudan. The court determined my marriage invalid. That's why I was charged with adultery. And then me confessing that I'm a Christian is apostasy.
Okay, so it's interesting. So legally, so to the rest of the world, legally, you were actually married. But because you were technically a Muslim woman, your marriage was considered invalid. It was illegal. So in their eyes, you had children outside of wedlock. So they put you in jail.
Yes, and they consider illegitimate children, yes. And I have no like authority or because we have this orphan place called Almagoma. This was children. Yeah, that's when we say the law that is supposed to protect people, like, you know, personal status and family law. So I would say the law, when I say the law that is supposed to protect people, it's actually more harmful to them when you just only crime you just choose personal choices in your life about your faith or your marriage or your children, things like that, and how you raise your children. Yeah.
Good.
And this is only more harmful. Women are mostly targeted, you know, with this law, women and religious.
And it would be while you were in prison that you had your second child.
I have my oldest one with me too. Because and he was allowed only to, yeah.
Well, I can say, Mariam, the devil is a liar. I'm like, Jesus, what is going on?
Satan is not trying.
Yeah, he's not trying to let this word go out. I'm telling you that. But we're gonna keep pushing through, Mariam. We're gonna keep pushing through. So
yeah, we'll make it.
Yeah, we're gonna push through. So let me ask that again. So you were in prison because your marriage was considered illegal, and they put you in prison with your 9-month-old son. And from reading in the book, there were
actually it's normal. There's a lot of women. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of women with different crime. They have their children, but you're not allowed to keep the child with you inside prison more than older than 2 years. Oh. They have to, if you have family members, they can. But on my case, I'm not. I have to give it to the government after 2 years. Wow. Because
So even though your husband and his family were still alive, they would rather your son be raised in an orphanage than be given to his father just because you married a Christian man.
Yes. And in my case, it's really people are scared. You know, I was rejected with most of my surrounding. People are really scared, like even to mention my name. Or a lot of people get arrested given this. This group called NISS, like National Intelligence Security Service in Sudan. They're a really corrupt group that they spy on people, you know, on internet. Her office being vandalized.
Sorry, Mariam, it completely froze. The last thing we heard was they spy on people through the internet. I think that's what you said.
Yeah, on the internet and social media, they do. So when really my case got some public attention, a lot of people get scared, like even, you know, to come visit or talk to me or speak about my case. And one of the things that's happened at the beginning before I go to prison, I was asked to escape the country, like, you know, try to save your life. And for me as a Christian, I will tell them I'm already saved, you know, by knowing Christ. So I can like run from this situation just because I'm afraid of jail or to die or things like that. And its persecution is real and it's happening and it can come to us, you know. That's my understanding about my situation, you know, and it's a matter of understand you. Like, I know exactly why I am there, not because I am bad or I'm called unclean. And I also accused of being like, I instead choose to go to prison. And instead of just obeying the law or complying with whatever the government, the judge said, accept the shahada, and then you step out. I was given many options, but none of this really was a choice for me. Prison was the hardest one, and yet the hardest choice for me. Yeah, but yet it's the only option I have, to take.
You say that you were given many options, but really they were all options that went, every single one of them were against your faith.
Yes, that's true.
And it would be like while you were in prison, so you went to prison in 2013, and in 2014 you would give birth to your second child under what I can only describe as the most horrific conditions, shackled in chains. No, they turned out the light, so the midwife had to deliver your daughter in complete darkness. It sounds like just sheer barbaric.
Yeah, it is, but because this is all, when I talk about the background of this, I would say whatever I mention, like Islamic Sharia law, Islamic law, that's normal things. And when I said, it doesn't mean like you have to name it. You say, give it a name, say it like what it is, because it's not an act of love. You say it with love. Know how bold they are, and how you still have to say this. So, and that's one of the things that they thought this lost thing. This moment for her giving birth might be like the last, that, because one of the blessings that God really put on that situation was me being pregnant, because at the end of the trial, when I was sentenced, the judge gave me 2 years before how the sentence I'll be executed, first being flogged and executed. I was given 2 years. During these 2 years that my lawyer was given, one of the cases dissimilar to my case, as involved a man was sentenced today, was executed the next day. Wow. Like, if I wasn't pregnant, my lawyers, like, they know I'm going to be sentenced to death, so they have the appeal ready to file to the court, so they can have more time to argue. And they start arguing the case actually in a matter of human rights, perspective, because Sudan is signed, the Declaration of Human Rights Law, and it's a member of the United Nations. So they must, have something, to do other than punishing me, because illegally, from lawyers' perspective, they think that Sudan violated certain, a human rights law toward me and my children. That's the argument at the court. But I will say that God just uses those group of lawyers. They came just in the right time, and then the pregnancy. So what came out, there's something really that they can, if they really understand, the judge understand the situation. As I said to him, my life, my children's life is not in your hand, it's in God's hand. So that's how it was given to. Yet them to see that I have to give birth in horrible situation, they wanted me to die and the child to die, because my death, that's what they want. The child's death is mean, I will get executed. One of us have to die, or either both of us. So it's their attention to harm me and my child is not something really they can, is avoidable, I can say, because I can allow to go give person in a hospital, like, because my lawyer requested that. They said no. This chance and all, it's all just force of they trying to put fear on, on my heart. And the other thing also, my death is what they want. So that's the reality,
Oh my gosh. And
did God really have a different plan? Not my, that's what I will say.
Absolutely, Mariam, because to be honest, you even being here today is nothing short of a miracle, because honestly, reading the book and everything you went through from the age of 7, and even before that, because your father was abusive, and what you saw he did to your mother when he tied her up because she wanted a divorce. I remember reading that and thinking, wow, my mom, just wow, I cannot believe somebody would do that to another person. So from even seeing those kinds of things, everything you went through, the fact that you are still here and in your right mind is nothing short of a miracle.
And you know what, sometimes that's what I really get to understand, because when I came to the state, I really don't have much attention, like, you know, to do much of advocacy or what I'm doing. But I always pray, like, God, you really know exactly what you have, what's the plan you have for me. Because when I get married, I like United States, but my husband is a US citizen, but there's no intention for me to come to the state, start my business in Sudan and everything. Like 3 years after my marriage, the situation started. That's why I have to come to the state. So all of this, my plan was to build my business, to be a strong and independent woman, to take care of my children. And I send my children to Catholic school in Sudan. But yet, God have a different plan. My plan was never like, and his plan is always perfect, and to give us a hope and future and not to harm us. Right. So, and when I came, I like, okay, there's something really God wanted, you know, to happen in my life from this experience. So it took me a long time really to decide to write the book the way it happened now. And I was advocacy in the work I do. A lot of time, like, I have no idea like how I involved in doing these things, but I can see his hands on everything I really do. And I pray it will continue to be.
And it's interesting you say that your plan, and I put the emphasis on you saying your plan was to have your business, be independent, raise your children. But when you were saying that, I tell you what came to me, the verse from the Bible that says, many are the plans in a man's heart, but the Lord directs his steps.
Yes, that's correct.
Interesting that you had your plan, but that really wasn't the plan for your life.
No, it's not.
As I mentioned, you went through some really barbaric treatment in prison, giving birth to your children, and subsequently your lawyers worked and were able to get you released after a huge international outcry, to the part where even the Pope got involved.
Yeah, it's happened. And you know what, when I tell some people like that, I have no idea, like, people are really praying for me or for my children, because in prison, I don't have much access to communication with outside the world. I'm not even allowed to keep a piece of paper or a pen on my belonging in prison, because they search everywhere in my belonging. So I don't have communication. Honestly, I don't have any communication with the world. But we just prayed. My son and I really prayed from that dark prison. And God brought us in many people's heart. My church was really being very supportive from the beginning to my situation. And I have really much, some confusion at the beginning, like, why is he doing that to me? And I started getting upset. And then I got to understand this is persecution and it's happened, you know, but God has the last final words when it's come to persecution and when it comes to our choices, you know, between Christ and our life and whatever the world wants from us. So my church involved, and yes, it's involved, you know, other diplomatic engagement from different countries, because some of my lawyers actually are very human rights active. So they have, you know, history of working with some other, you know, organization and people outside the country. So, and the Vatican get involved because the relationship between Sudan and my children are US citizens. They don't have their documentation at that time. That was very challenging situation too. But the relationship between the United States and Sudan is not good at that time. And they tried to politicalize the situation. Sudan was in the terrorist list because they foster a lot of terrorists like Osama bin Laden. and they end up the sanction, and they put Sudan on the terrorist list. So one of the things that Sudan asked from the United States, in order for them to let me go, they have to remove Sudan from the terrorist list. And they refuse to do that. So, and I mean, it's take long because it's a hard decision to make, you know. So, and the time is running because I have only 6 months. Martin will go to the orphan, and then, yeah, and then 2 years, then we get executed. So Italy stepped in and they negotiated with Sudan and done whatever Sudan asked them to do. And I was allowed to leave the country. Yes, I spent a month at the US Embassy in Khartoum, in Sudan. So yeah, the first night after I was released, because when my daughter was born, they didn't give her the name I gave it. So they recorded her in my prison file as anonymous, unknown.
Anonymous.
Yes. So when I left Sudan, the same night I left prison, I called in and I said, one of the embassy staffer, actually we go to the same church, the Cathedral of St. Matthew. I asked him, I needed to baptize my daughter. So we baptized Maya at the US Embassy. And she was given a name then. So because she does not have a birth certificate from Sudan, she doesn't have any documentation. Only when she was baptized and was given name in Christ.
They would rather have your child anonymous rather than even give her a name. And
no, because she should go and stay, you know, once you go to the orphan, you know, call her Islamic name and she'll grow up as a Muslim, because that's what's the plan. And then the other thing also, I really have very strong business. I started it. And then when I get rearrested again, when I'm leaving the country, they asked me to sign off everything. And I really did, because that's most of, you know, would come from apostasy charges. We forgive you. We're not going to kill you, but you have to give up everything you want. And I did. I didn't even ask my lawyers. I didn't even thought about it. It's only 5 minutes conversation with an officer. And I did, one of the NISS officers, and I did whatever they asked. Knowing that this material thing that I want at that moment, knowing that I'm out of prison and I am allowed to leave the country with my children alive, doesn't have any price, you know. And I'm able to raise them as a Christian. Does mean have a lot to me, you know. So one of the things that's happened also, I remember walking out, stepping in this airplane, they wave and they tell me that we took everything from you. You're leaving Sudan with nothing. Yeah. And I would say, no, I'm not leaving Sudan with nothing. I'm leaving Sudan with everything I need. You took what is something that I can make again, but there's something that you're not able to take out of my heart or of my children's life or my life, and it's love of Christ. So that's one of the moments leaving Sudan. And then we flew to Italy, spent 10 days there. We met with the Pope the same day. We landed in Italy. And now here we are.
And, you know, you saying that, because a few minutes ago you said that what you wanted to do was have your businesses and be independent. And it's like they must have, obviously they knew that. So that was one way for them to continue trying to teach you a lesson, so to speak, by stripping you of everything you owned, everything you worked for, thinking that that would break you. And let me ask you, Mariam, was there ever a time when you were in prison, especially after the floggings, after the barbaric way in which you had your daughter, was there ever a time when you felt like, Lord, I just can't go on, I can't do this? Was there ever a time when you thought your faith was just like, nope, I can't do this?
No, there is never a moment like that, for two reasons. When my mom always used to tell us, like, when you're facing trouble, you think that you know there's something bad, you know, go to the hospital, look at the sick people as lying down at the hospital bed, they can't even breathe. So you will find something that to be thankful for. So when I went to prison, I start looking around and questioning. Like I experienced a lot of things on my own. I witnessed a lot of injustice, persecution, but what I have seen in prison, what I saw in prison is different, like different things. And I mentioned a lot about this in the book. So that's when I, and when I do know, when my priest will say also, like, when we help other, we heal. Like, really? How is that? So I really find that's practically that more, is that time. The other thing also, the Bible says, nothing can separate us from God's love. And we face persecution, hardship, but then when I am weak, I'm strong. So there's a lot of moments that I see fear in their eyes when they try to punish me, and I see that in their eyes, but it wasn't in me. That's one of the things that we say, this woman is obsessed, she's crazy, or elsewhere there's someone really powerful behind you, like really powerful. That's why you know who you're relying on. And I will tell them no one other than Jesus. Because personally, I don't have like big, wealthy family or anybody that for my family in the government. I'm almost like just solo woman, no family, bigger life. The one that they think and they say they're my blood, they are the one who brought me to jail. Like they're the one who put me in jail, put me in that situation, and they wanted me to die. So yeah. And I can say this, like, when after Jesus was died, after the disciples were really afraid. And this is when we say he's with us. He's really with us, because nobody, the prison doors don't keep him away, the blocked door don't keep him. He came in through the closed door to the disciple, and he told them, peace be with you. So that's peace. That's the power of, the Holy Spirit and the presence of, God. He can be with us, but how we really experience that peace that no one knew.
So you were talking about, the peace that God gives you.
That's correct.
So Mariam, so after going through all of that treatment, after experiencing the barbaric treatment that you did and seeing some of the horrific things that you did, you're now here in the US. Can you tell us a bit about the work that you're doing now?
A lot of time I struggle, like, to speak about. I'm mostly advocacy. I really do. I'm connected to lots of different, women from work, faith, and life. I co-founded an organization called Tahrir An-Nisa Foundation with my friend Nakma Panahi, which non-profit organization religiously motivated violence, and even Christian, because I volunteer a lot with different, network and groups that advocate for persecuted church mostly. And actually, I done a book tour for Shackled on March, and then we're doing another one between July and August. And the proceeding from this tour, the book, actually most of Shackled is going to be going toward safe house for women who face oppression and persecuted, and in some restricted country like Iran and Somalia. So because I know exactly what it means to have a safe home, because I believe women and mothers and girls are the foundation of the family. Like when they are safe and when they are protected, all the family is safe and protected. So yeah, that's must. I am also on the board of directors for Anti-Trafficking International. So yeah.
Thank you. And it's amazing that with everything that you've been through, you are still so strong and have the grace and the courage to still help so many. So Mariam, how are your children doing now? Fortunately, your daughter was too young to be able to remember it. So how is your son? How are your children doing now? Are they well?
My children are doing very well. They have very, very great support system and community. They are really very well. So yeah, we kind of like not missing much, you know. And I believe it's God's plan, and this is what He wanted to happen in their life. And no, I don't remember. They have some challenges at the beginning, like talking about what's happened, because one of the challenges I faced was called like, you're a bad mother, you let your children stay in prison, you know.
Mm-hmm.
You know you're going to lose your children, and yet you stayed. They have really to take too much rest to prepare them, like to explain what happened. And one of the things my son like to say, Mama, those people who done that to us, they didn't know, then they don't love Jesus. So I would say, no, we don't call it they don't love Jesus, because love is in our heart, and we don't know what's. Sometimes I show in action, and what they done is not an act of love to us, but yet we don't, assume that, we don't judge that. But we will say that they don't know Jesus. So we can pray that they will get to know Him, and He can make Himself known to them. That's, yeah. But they know about persecution, and they know.
That's
yeah.
Amazing that your children have still come through this and are doing well. That's wonderful to hear. And I'm so happy that you have been able to escape from that, because the thought of being on death row facing hanging, I can't even begin to fathom what that must have done to you mentally. But you were able to hold on to your faith. And listening to you and reading your book, you remind me of Job. Because I'm sure that many people would have said, why don't you just, and even in fact, in the book, many people say, why don't you just say the Shahada? Just say it, just say it, just say it. But you're just like, no. And I think that's the equivalent in Job, where Job's wife said, why don't you just curse God and die? But Job was just like, nope, I am not going to. And that just sounds so much like you and your story.
Yeah, because I can tell you it's not something I did. God really did. So I have one of my friends who would like say, when they just have the book, Mariam, if I am you, if I'm in your situation, I will dance the Shahada for them. I will sing it a song, like I will sing it and dance the Shahada for them. Like, yeah. But, it's just a matter of like, that's why I like Hebrew 11. Faith about, and yeah, and God is good, really. He done miracles in my life, in our life, and I do trust that He will do the same for many other really people facing persecution, especially for women and people of faith that are being persecuted and facing this evil every single day.
And he said that's why you like Hebrews 11.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Mariam, thank you so much for taking the time to go through with us step by step your journey and sharing your faith with us. I truly appreciate you taking the time to speak to us today. Mariam, thank you so much for joining us. And I hope that...
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. And I hope and pray from here on in that your life just continues to blossom and flourish, and you continue to walk in your purpose and just be all that God has called you to be.
And I appreciate you, really, and appreciate your voice and you raising this issue, then asking the hard question. Keep doing the same. I like to do that too.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, my dear. Blessings to you and to your children. Take care.
Take care. Thank you. Me too.